Restore. Restore. Many of us here this morning have experienced a broken place in our lives at one time or another. It happens to all of us, if we live long enough. Let us together watch the music video entitled Japanese Bowl by Peter Meyer.
I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me. They have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then. They had a bowl to mend. It did not hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke, and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be. But in a collector's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful and worth a much higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls. I was made long ago. I have some cracks you can see how they shine of gold.
As a young couple, Harvey, my husband who's sitting up here toward the front, and we gave my mother a little gift for her birthday. It was a hand-painted real egg. It was very delicate, and it had been hand-painted either from Japan or from China. And this little egg was in a little case about this size, a little glass case, so that you could see the egg inside. One day while I was visiting my parents, they had me follow them into the living room, and they took me over to the walnut marble-top French end table where they kept that little egg in the little glass case. And they said, Brenda, take a look at the table here and see if you see anything different. And I looked at each of those collectibles that were set out so artfully by my mother. My mother loved to decorate, so they were beautifully set all out, and I was looking through each one, trying to figure out what in the world she was talking about. And then finally, I spied it. I spied what they wanted me to see. That little glass case still held an egg, just a yellow plastic two-piece Easter egg. Well, what we could figure out, what we could figure out was that, what we could figure out was that my very busy toddler had been at his grandparents' house, and in playing, he must have knocked it over, broke that little glass case, broke the real egg inside, thought about it, and replaced it with something similar. Actually, I thought it was rather clever, pretty ingenious, sneaky, but a pretty good replacement for a 2-year-old. We live in a throwaway, disposable society, don't we? When we break something, we usually just pitch it in the trash and we get a replacement. Sometimes we get the same thing. Sometimes we get a plastic Easter egg replacement, yet we rarely ever sit down and try to glue back together a broken piece of china or crystal. And we certainly don't repair a Bic pen or a Bic lighter or a plastic digital watch, do we? We just pitch and replace. The concept of broken in our culture does not have a good connotation. Before we buy an antique piece of china or crystal, we carefully study it. We make sure it doesn't have any cracks or chips. We put our finger around the edge of it and we hold it up to the light just to make sure that we're not missing something that might be wrong with it. Before we purchase a car, what do? We go into Carfax, don't we? We look on the internet and we type in the VIN number to see if that car has been flooded or if it's been in a wreck, had any damage. We worry when we purchase items off of eBay or another online auction that the item may have been broken and has not been repaired well. We Americans, we don't like broken things. We like new and shiny and perfect. Yet in the art world, cracked and repaired Japanese bowls are more valuable because they have been mended with gold and that gold shines. Those Japanese broken bowls become the best. Their mending with gold adds value. In ancient Japan, when a ceramic bowl broke, they repaired it. Legend has it that a 15th century Japanese shogun, he sent a treasured Chinese tea bowl that was broken, and he sent it back to China where it had been made. He wanted it to be restored. Well, he was not the least bit impressed with the kind of repair job that the Chinese had done. So he hired some of his own Japanese craftsmen to find a more beautiful method of mending ceramics. They developed a technique called kintsugi, in which the broken pottery is literally mended with gold dust, and sometimes with platinum or silver. And rather than trying to hide those flaws in the broken ceramics, the craftsman would highlight the flaws in gold, bearing the cracks and adopting them as part of the ceramic. The ceramics mended with those precious metals actually then became more valuable than they had before they were broken. The piece was considered more beautiful now because it had been broken and restored with a valuable metal. We too, like those Japanese bowls, through the work of God, our Creator, the Master Potter, our cracks, those broken places in our lives are mended with the precious, invaluable gold of grace. Our souls, our emotions, our very lives are repaired, given new life, made more valuable. The Master's hands that originally made us takes us, his beloved broken vessel, and tenderly and lovingly picks up the pieces of our broken hearts, our embarrassed and shame-filled souls, and fixes and puts the pieces back together again. The Creator does not treat us as disposable, doesn't pitch us in the trash, and neither does the Lord use cheap super glue to try to mend us, but takes those pieces and masterfully puts them back together with the gold of grace-filled love, compassion, and forgiveness. Those things of God that make us stronger and make us shine. The Creator can see the end product, that when repaired, when restored, we will be better and more valuable than ever. Our life vessels will be the best because the Creator has touched us, not just once at our creation, but many times over in our lives, filling in those cracks with the gold of grace. You see, we were not something to put up in a china cabinet and to just look at, too fragile to use. We were loved and put into service. And as a result, we developed some cracks and some chips and some brokenness. But the good news is that the Master is great at grace-filled mending. Of course, it is easy to understand why we would be ashamed of any broken pieces in our lives. We spend lots of time trying to hide those flaws in our lives. We try so hard. We try to hide those cracks by putting on masks, trying desperately to make our broken lives look shiny and new and perfect. But we know that deep down inside, we are broken. But in contrast to our culture's dim view of brokenness, in God's kingdom, in God's reign, broken is often a good thing, can even become the best thing. Bruised grain for broken bread. Crushed and broken grapes for wine. Christ's body broken for our salvation. Even in our brokenness, we can still be the best vessel for the use of the Master. We may think that we cannot give our best to the Lord because we are broken, but in reality, it is just the opposite. When we say to God, I can no longer hide my broken heart, my broken marriage, my broken dreams, my broken business, my broken life. I need you, and I need you to put me back together again. I can't do this myself, oh God. I give myself to you. I give you free rein to help me be what I'm supposed to be. then the Creator can take our brokenness and really restore us and make us useful once again. When we have experienced the healing balm of the gold of grace in our own lives, then in turn, we can treat others with compassion because their lives are broken too. We're able to love the unlovely because we too have been unlovely at one time. We're able to give forgiveness because we have been forgiven. We're able to be vessels of grace because we have been shown grace. But fair warning, even when mended, our grace-filled scars will often still be apparent, as they are the evidence that God loves us and values us enough to repair us and to use us once again. We remember when Jesus was resurrected in his glorified body. The gospel tells us that he still had the battle wounds of the nail scars in his hands and the nail scars in his feet, and a spear wound in his side. So even though we still have those grace-filled cracks, our vessels, our mended and restored lives will be more valuable, more resolute, more compassionate, will be stronger. We're like those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. We have some cracks in us, and they have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then when they had a bowl to mend. It did not hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. So now, every old scar shows from every time we broke, and anyone's eyes can see we're not what we used to be. But in a collector's mind, all of those jagged lines make us more beautiful and worth a much higher price. Yes, we're like one of those Japanese bowls. We were made long ago. We have some cracks you can see. See how they shine of gold. Amen.